Hi Reddit. This is a story that spans over a decade and culminates in a shocking twist and some well-deserved revenge. I hope you're ready for a wild ride. The beginning. 12 years ago, I was 26 and deeply in love with my then fiance, Emma. We had been dating for 4 years and were about to get married. Emma was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. Smart, funny, kind, and beautiful. We had planned a beautiful wedding and everything seemed perfect. My younger brother, Jake, and I were close. We had grown up together, shared secrets, and we had each other's backs. He was my best man, and I was proud to have him stand by my side on the most important day of my life. However, the day before our wedding, my world came crashing down. I accidentally overheard a conversation between Emma and Jake. They were in a heated argument, and Emma blurted out that she couldn't keep the secret anymore and had to come clean. She confessed to Jake that their affair was tearing her apart, and she couldn't marry me without feeling like a complete fraud. I was stunned, heartbroken, and angry. I confronted them both immediately, and they didn't even try to deny it. Jake and Emma had been having an affair for over a year. Emma claimed she loved me, but was also in love with Jake, and Jake admitted to having feelings for her too. I called off the wedding and cut ties with both of them. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I couldn't marry someone who had betrayed me so deeply, nor could I maintain a relationship with my brother who had broken my trust. Life moves on. The next few years were tough. I threw myself into work, moved to a different city, and tried to rebuild my life. I eventually met Sarah, a wonderful woman who helped me heal and believe in love again. Sarah and I have been together for 8 years now, and we're set to get married next week. In the past 12 years, I had no contact with Emma or Jake. I heard through the grapevine that they got married a couple of years after our fallout and moved to a different state. I had moved on and was happy with my new life. The unexpected message. Just 2 days ago, out of the blue, I received a message on Facebook from Emma. It was a long, heartfelt apology. She claimed that she had been living in guilt and regret for the past 12 years and needed to tell me something important before I got married. I was skeptical and didn't want to open old wounds, but curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed to meet her. The shocking truth. We met at a quiet cafe. When I saw her, memories and anger rushed back. She looked nervous but determined. Emma told me that shortly after our breakup, she and Jake got married, but their marriage was a disaster. Jake had been unfaithful and aggressive. She said she had left him years ago and had been in therapy, trying to make amends for her past mistakes. But then she dropped the bombshell. Emma revealed that after her and Jake got married, he admitted that he had deliberately seduced her to sabotage our relationship. He was jealous of our bond and wanted to ruin my happiness. She claimed she was manipulated and regretted everything deeply. Emma also mentioned that Jake had been facing prison time for fraud. Revenge. At first, I was stunned. Could this be true? Was it possible Jake had been so spiteful? After some reflection, I decided to turn this situation to my advantage. I concocted a plan for revenge that would bring me closure and justice. I agreed to meet Emma again and feigned sympathy, telling her I needed time to process everything. I secretly recorded our conversation where she admitted to the affair and Jake's manipulation. Next, I reached out to an old friend who is a journalist. I provided her with the recording and the backstory. She was eager to expose Jake, who had become a minor local celebrity due to his business ventures. The story was set to release the day before my wedding. D-Day. The article went live, revealing Jake's manipulation, his affair with Emma, and his pending fraud charges. It caused a massive scandal. My family, who had been unaware of the depth of Jake's betrayal, was horrified. Jake was disgraced publicly and professionally. Wedding day. On my wedding day, I felt a sense of peace and vindication. Sarah knew about my past and supported my decision to confront it head-on. As we exchanged vows, I realized I had finally closed that painful chapter of my life. Emma's revelations, though shocking, gave me the final push to expose the truth and reclaim my dignity. Epilogue. Jake's downfall was swift. He lost his business, his reputation, and soon his freedom. Emma reached out one last time, asking for forgiveness. I told her I had moved on, but appreciated her honesty. I blocked her and focused on my future with Sarah. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and in my case, it took 12 years to prepare. As I embark on this new chapter with Sarah, I feel lighter, knowing that justice was served and my past no longer haunts me. But I still think sometimes I am the a-hole for orchestrating my brother's public downfall. Not the a-hole at all. Your brother deserves every bit of it. Congrats on your wedding and your new beginning. That was some epic revenge. Sometimes, karma needs a little push. Happy for your new life ahead. While I understand your need for closure, consider therapy to fully process these events. Best wishes for your marriage. My dad spends a lot of time on social media, and recently, he's been talking about how frequent paternity fraud has become, and this kind of BS. A while ago, he told me, female 16, that he wants a paternity test because he thinks that I might not be his child. He asked me to keep this between us and not tell my mom anything in case he was wrong. To be clear, between all of my siblings, I'm the only one who doesn't look like him, which is why he only wanted to test me. I told him that he is a moron because my mom is just not the kind of person who cheats. She has devoted her life to her family, and I don't even remember the last time she went somewhere without us. So unless she is sneaking out at night when everyone is asleep, I don't see how she could cheat. But my dad insisted and said if I don't do this, he won't support me when I go to college. I said fine, I'll take the test, but it's none of his business whether or not I tell my mom. The test result came 2 days ago, and to our surprise, I am his child. He told me that he is glad we did this so that he could be sure and not have doubts anymore. I told him to F off. Of course, I went and told my mom about the test, and now she wants a divorce. She basically kicked my dad out. I'm not sure, and I don't care enough to know where he is staying. Today he called me and said I'm an a-hole for ruining their marriage, and asked whether I'm happy with what I've done, and how I'm the reason my little siblings are going to be raised in a broken home. I told him I don't really give a crap and hung up. Not the a-hole. Your father really has no shame. Confronting your own minor daughter about a paternity test destroyed any loving, trusting relationship a child should have with a parent. But the implied disbelief about your mother's suspected infidelity takes the cake. Of course she kicked him out. He does not deserve to stay in a loving relationship when he has so severe doubts about your mother's character. But to then call you an a-hole and the reason your siblings will be without that POS dad. He's the epitome of a-holiness. Not the a-hole. He chose to bring this upon himself. You don't owe him silence. He messed around and found out. Although at this point, I wouldn't blame you for being at least a little disappointed in the results. Not the a-hole. Any question of paternity should have been a private issue between them to begin with, and it never should have involved the child or children in question. It is a private matter between the couple. I would assume there is some stinging that comes when a father comes to you and says, I have doubts that you are mine. And yeah, he can say it is based on looks only. But the thought that he has some other issue with you as a person has to be in the back of your head and led to feelings of resentment. He made his bed all by himself. Now he can lay in it all by himself. He accused your mother of infidelity, and he made you question his feelings for you. My brother is a lot older than me, and in the last 20 years has lived in a fully owned 4-bedroom house. Then after divorce, several different huge rented houses, multiple foreign holidays per year, driving Audi, Mercedes-grade cars. He owned his own business and seemed to be doing really well. I can honestly say I didn't have a shred of jealousy, envy, resentment while I lived in a small 2- and 3-bedroom house in a poor area. Maybe camping or a very cheap holiday once per year. We saved up for 2 years to go to Greece one time. I was happy with what I had, which, I want to be super clear, was a perfectly normal standard of living with my family and own children. I was pleased for him when he told me about where he was going on holiday, went to visit him often in these houses, and told him how great they were, super proud of him, looked up to him, all the best that he was doing so well. Last week he told me he's massively in personal debt and business debt and will be homeless in around 1 month's time. This has happened at a very odd time. I landed an amazing job 6 years ago, and through a combination of luck, years of hard work, and intelligence, was promoted to a very high level where I am now going to receive, for me, life-changing quantities of SRUs. You can now probably figure out what I'm doing. I still live in a very small house, but my wife and I aspire to a place by the sea where we can walk the dog, and I have children to send to university and set up in their own lives in the current cost of living crisis. He asked that I use the money I will be receiving to buy him a nice house. I would keep the ownership so it would be an investment for me, and he would pay rent. Now we are at the off-my-chest part. There is no way I'm using this life-changing money to continue a lifestyle for someone else that was far in excess of what I had, and at the cost of that kind of life for myself and my children. I told him I can pay rent on a flat for 3 months so he isn't homeless, but I am not buying him a house to live in. I'm not investing in property, and if I did, there's no way I would rent a family. What a mess. I would evict him if he stopped paying rent. Maybe I feel guilty. Maybe I need strangers on the internet to validate me or tell me I'm wrong. I just need to get this off my chest, and I can't really talk to my other family about it because that would mean disclosing my RSUs, and then everyone would know I had money. For me, I plan to keep my costs within my means. I know this job could go away at any point, really, so I must save while I can. It's crazy that he even suggested you buy him a house. You've made a very generous offer to help him find a flat and pay rent. Do not pay for anything, including his rent. Do not enable his behavior. He knew his situation and still chose to increase his debt over time with no plan to do anything about it. And now the plan is for someone else to cover him. He needs to learn to live within his means. This is not your responsibility. Why does it matter to him who owns the house? You are an anonymous landlord. Seems he plans to be a bad tenant and wants to rent from someone he can manipulate. Your brother is sketchy and doesn't care about the financial health of your family. Don't go down this road. To preface this, I don't think that I'm entitled to anything. It was just uncomfortable to me that one of us got something that the other didn't. I was talking to my grandparents the other day, and they invited me and my husband out to dinner when they got to my city, along with my cousin and his wife who also live here. The next day, they messaged me saying they might not have the time to meet with me, but they will still see my cousin. I didn't take any offense to it. I just told them to have fun and left it there. They responded back saying that they actually think that they may be able to make it work and asked me for recommendations on a place that has ribs. I don't really eat ribs, so I did some Google searching and came up with a place, and we settled the conversation there with a plan to meet the next day. Around 6, they messaged me that they had just landed in town and they were ready to meet up for dinner, so I hopped in my car and headed out with my husband. As we're heading inside, my husband said he heard my grandpa whisper to my cousin not to worry paying for anything, so my husband texted me asking if the same goes for us, and I said I hadn't heard anything about it. But when the waiter came, my grandpa told the waiter that they're covering them. I was a bit confused because they were the ones to invite us out, and I originally told them that I just wanted to show them my garden. I also found out over the course of dinner that my cousin was the one who requested ribs, and my grandparents had been there long enough to put my cousin's baby daughter down to sleep. It was just uncomfortable, really. My grandparents knew that we had just come home from visiting my parents out of state, and we've been having a hard time already due to some medical issues on my end. But I just sat there listening to my cousin talk about how well he is sitting financially, while his bill gets covered and mine doesn't. Mostly, I was just upset with myself for letting my pride get in the way and opting to go to a place that sets me back financially instead of telling them that I just couldn't do it right now, on top of the sting of blatant favoritism. I didn't make a stink at all. I just paid and went home. Anyways, when I went home and told my mom about it, she was immediately pissed. She texted my grandpa to tell him that this is the last straw, and his blatant favoritism has reached a new low, and he's no longer invited to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. It turned into a much bigger thing. She told my uncle, and he is so angry at my grandfather now too. I'm just gaslighting myself a bit. Yes, I'm uncomfortable, but I don't want it to be a huge deal. Maybe it wasn't one at all. My pride is the problem. I could have just said I can't afford the prices and got something small or not win at all. Well, I was about to say maybe the other grandchild isn't doing well financially. Nope. Apparently, this has a history. It's drama, yeah, but you didn't start it. And you didn't ask your mom to act on it. You were just hurt, and apparently you have a good relationship with your mother. I guess maybe try to stay out of the focus at this point, because it's no longer about you. It's about what the grandparents did. You just expressed frustration to mom. Hang in there. You didn't do wrong. Not overreaching, and I'm glad your mom is making a fuss about it. Obviously, this is a bigger issue than one dinner and needs to be addressed. Homie, you did nothing wrong. Just keep living and doing your best to stay out of the drama going forward. You did not cause any of this. Your grandparents did. You telling your mom did not cause this. It's just another thing in a string of insults that your grandparents are slinging. But you should definitely give your mom a big hug the next time you see her. It sounds like she really cares about you and is truly upset at how your grandparents treat you.